She was like, I don't know what this is. And I was like, oh, it's the distributive property. She's like, how do you know that? It's like, I don't know.
AI.
It just
Just
found a
Google it.
home and stayed there.
It'll tell you.
All right, are we ready?
Mhm.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to call to order the Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Planning Commission. If everyone could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Kristen, can you do the roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Bartis,
Here.
Commissioner Dolan,
Here.
Chair Kempner,
Here?
Commissioner Stapp,
Here.
Commissioner Hamame. Here. Commissioner Ernstman.
Here.
And Commissioner Woods.
Here.
That's everyone.
Everyone's here, yay. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes of March 18th, 2025. Do I have a motion or corrections?
Motion to approve?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Communications. Kristen, do we have any communications?
There are no communications.
Thank you. Citizens' comments. This is the time for items not on the agenda. Seeing no one. Moving on to new business. Number 1, the capital improvement plan.
So, normally our finance director would be here to present this to you, but he was not available this evening, so I'm here to present it to you instead. It's a little bit revamped from years past, so you probably haven't noticed, but the budget document was posted online today. And along with revamping that, we revamped the capital improvement process too. The Planning Commission's role in this, according to planning enabling legislation, is to review the plan and keep in mind the master plan and things and make sure none of these projects are conflicting with the things that we have in our master plan and planning documents. You also have to hold the public hearing and then approve the plan, and it moves on to City Council as part of the budget process. So you can see you have all of the years laid out here in the spreadsheet. You'll notice the first 3 fiscal years are shown in green. So those are meant to be realistic, somewhat fully funded, things that we can actually accomplish with the money that we anticipate having, because we are operating on a 3-year budget right now. If you'll notice beyond that, as we get into fiscal years 28, 29, 29, 30, and 30 and 31, these are things that we probably cannot fund right now, but it's important that they're included in the plan, because when we apply for grants and things, the organizations and different government entities want to know that we're planning on this, that we have reliable cost estimates, and that we would like to do it at some point in the future, even if we can't fully fund it now. So with that, do you have any questions?
Move to approve the CIP plan?
Public hearing
We have
first.
to have a public hearing.
Oh, sorry.
And
Move to open the public hearing?
Does anybody have any questions for Kristen before we go to the public hearing? What will clearly be a very brief public hearing. All right, I'm gonna open the public hearing at 7:04. Seeing that, do either of you gentlemen want to comment on it? All right, seeing nobody rushing up, I am also closing it at 7:04.
We received no correspondence or anything either.
Shocker.
So one other thing I'll point out is, because we're a mostly built-out community and we're not talking about expanding parkland and things like that, like some other communities might be looking at where there is a lot more overlap between the CIP and the master plan. We don't have that here as much.
Am I right in recalling that the city manager usually gives that report to us?
So last year, the finance director was here, but before that, the city manager
Okay.
did. Yes.
Well, because it's you here and not the finance person, I was just gonna ask a random question, because it feels like our spending is lower this year in CIP stuff than it has been in past years. So I was gonna ask if this is like a period of saving before we start spending again.
I
don't know
can,
if you know.
I can
Okay,
sort of answer that. So the reason that you're seeing that is because in past years, I think the CIP was looked at as a little bit more, I don't want to say it,
A
a
pipe
wish
dream?
list, but yes. It was things that we really hope that we can do, and we were not able to fund everything. So this year, we actually had a several-week process where a group of administrative staff got together and looked at the different funds, saw what we could really realistically pay for, and also prioritized all of the different projects. So all the directors had the opportunity to sit down and present projects, and the group weighed in on whether they thought those were the priorities or not, and then eventually the city manager made the final decisions. But that's why you see something that's lower, because it's more realistic.
okay.
How come some of the dollar amounts are in green?
So those are the first three, most of them are the first 3 years. We're operating on a 3-year budget cycle now. So several years ago, it was just 1 year. Last year, we moved it up to 2 years. Now we're operating on a 3-year budget cycle. So those are showing things that are planned for and budgeted in the next, we had to plan for 3 years of budgeting. So in the next 3 years, these things can be covered right now with the anticipated revenues that we have.
Questions or motions?
And then, I guess I just notice one thing for the sidewalk replacements, you have $400,000 budgeted on an annual basis. Has that gone up or down than in previous years?
I'd have to get you that answer.
Okay, no
That
problem.
one stuck out to me too. 400,000 every year seems like a lot of sidewalks. I know it's not cheap to replace flags with sidewalks anymore, but
I did 4 slabs for 1,600.
that's pretty economical.
So the sidewalk program is, we're planning on that just being a continual thing where we just keep going around the city, assessing the sidewalks.
Generally, yes, we took this year off, but yes.
And sorry, if you, I'm asking you questions that I don't know if you know the answers to.
If
so
I
I'm
know it,
sorry.
I'll share it. If I don't, I don't.
So when we say 400,000, is that what the city anticipates having to spend, or just output until they get that money back? Like, I have to pay for my sidewalk slabs, right? But the city pays the contractor, then they bill me.
I presumed it was city-owned property because it shouldn't show as an expense if we're getting reimbursed through collections.
Right. It should not show as an expense. And I know we do keep a contractor, a cement concrete contractor. We select one every year so that as replacements and things come up at parks, that there is someone available to do that. But I honestly can't give you a lot of details about that.
Any more questions? Or motions?
Is the field house included in here?
The school field house?
Yeah.
No, we're not contributing to that at all.
Oh, no.
That's all through the school's bond.
Okay.
That would be the entire fiscal year, probably.
Mike, we're deferring to you. You had the question.
Oh, no, I'm done. I can be here all day. No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, then, does somebody have a motion?
I'll move to approve the capital improvement plan.
Are we approving or recommending approval?
You are approving.
Okay, perfect.
Support?
Is this an all in favor? Is this a roll call?
It can be all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Oh, sorry. Opposed? Capital Improvement Plan is approved. Number 2, PSP 0325 3340 Elwood Avenue.
Give me a second here. I forgot my computer, so I'm going old school.
Ooh.
No, savage.
Okay, so this is the site plan that's before you, as we chit-chatted about a little bit before the meeting. This is under the old zoning ordinance. So the new one is effective now, but this was submitted prior to that. This particular parcel is zoned parking district. In the new ordinance, that district designation goes away, but it did exist under the old ordinance. And this is for an expansion to the parking lot at Green Lantern. So if you'll recall, Green Lantern has a parking lot kind of behind their building right now. This lot would connect to that lot in the back, and it would actually front on Elwood. About 14 parking spaces would be added. It's a little bit tight for them to fit this in there, so there's not a lot of landscaping proposed right now. If you'll recall, one of the things that the Planning Commission needs to consider is whether or not significant or substantial landscaping has been provided, as outlined in the master plan. We would recommend that the applicant look at potentially adding some if they can, but the toss-up would be, this would probably be requiring the removal of a parking space, and I think everyone's aware of how popular and tight parking is over there at Green Lantern. So do keep that in mind as you go through the discussion. Otherwise, the plan is in compliance with ordinance requirements. They have provided the required screen wall to buffer from the adjacent residential property, and they're looking for site plan approval tonight. There's no public hearing required.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You guys want to introduce your project? Or you just want us to ask you questions? What do you guys want to do?
I guess just go for the questions.
I mean,
Okay.
introduce myself. I'm Matt Seeley. I'm an architect that did the drawings. Just-
I'm John Spreitzer, I'm the owner of the store there.
Thank you. Okay, anybody have questions for Kristen or the applicant? Okay, I'll start. So we're keeping the existing wall that's around the parking for Country Oven there? Is that screen wall staying there?
In the plans, yes, that wall to the north, it would be the north of this lot, is gonna stay.
Okay. Just for my own curiosity, because I feel like it would flow so much better, have you guys approached Country Oven and asked about just redoing the whole?
Many times. So right now, we actually pay quite a bit of money to rent the spots behind his building, just against that wall. And we've asked him many times if we could just put, he's gonna walk through, just so the staff can get through there, or we can put delivery car. He has no interest in having us anywhere near that lot, or taking the wall down. I wanna say there's a wooden screen wall there between the two parking lots. I don't even know if he's allowed to have that even up. I don't think he applied for anything for that one, but yeah, he's very standoffish with
Okay.
getting anybody on his lot, unfortunately. I agree with you, though, it would flow very nicely
Right.
out that there.
Have you looked at it all and tried to see if there's any place that you can add some landscaping?
Yes, yeah, we have. So there's the easement there with the sidewalk, and then we're putting as much grass and landscaping and potentially a tree there at what would be the west side of it. But yeah, looking at the width of the lot, it's very narrow, north-south. We would have to remove a parking space or two to have any type of landscaping. So I think that would be the only potential, would be if you removed a spot, you put a kind of a curved island there with plants and grass.
Kind of like what's on the other side. They have like a little small island with a bush and a tree, it looks like.
Just on the road, not in the parking lot itself.
Okay.
Yeah, the small triangle there, within the bubbled area, there's, that's where grass will come in, because we are proposing angled parking to keep it
Okay.
one way, turn right only onto Elwood to reduce congestion into the neighborhood.
On a side note, with both those walls being up there, there's really not, you think, you can't really see it from the street a whole lot. There's not a lot of beautification to really be had there, unfortunately. But like you said, what we can do is what makes sense is, obviously on the road, do as best we can there.
We could look at, so there's all the way to the right side, there's that lined in area, just because we go from straight parking to angled, that could become some green space.
Have you had any contact with the residences behind you, the one that you'll be abutting?
I have.
Are they,
I've talked to him many times, very nice, he's got my phone, I've given him my phone number, so we've contacted, and just told him to give me a call if there's any questions or anything. He seemed unbothered. He was like, oh, because he asked initially what we were doing, if we were gonna rent it out. I said, no, we're trying to plan to make it a parking lot. I was, oh, really? And then, We talked for a short period of time about all sorts of different random stuff, and then it was like contact I had with him, really. So,
Have we heard anything from anybody?
We have not, but this would not be something that was noticed.
So then, but he knows, cause you told him.
he does know, yeah.
Are those two properties also zoned parking district in the next two houses?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think it was
Okay,
just
that one.
this one lot. The parking overlay may extend
parking
a
overlay.
little bit farther though.
So it does look like it's kind of out there because just, I don't know, would that be north of there? I don't know directions. So just looking at an aerial, the parking lot it's almost like cuts out for this lot. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So this is all parking, and then this is the lot right here.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's a cutout for this lot.
Yeah, right here. This is the lot. The house was still on it at
Yeah,
this
and there's
point.
parking adjacent to it
Mhm.
already.
It's kind of surrounded by parking, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine at some point when Silas was there, Silas, that they probably bought that property behind them and made it a parking lot. This would just make it one big uniform piece.
Is
Only we could
the,
get rid of that wall, it would be nice and uniform.
It would.
is
I know.
the,
If you guys would ever take it down, I'd appreciate it.
is the proposed wall gonna match the existing wall on the other property? I didn't dig that deep, but,
That's a
Is
good
that the
question.
intent?
We haven't really gotten that far into the design.
okay.
So, I mean, it could. Well, are you talking about the wall that's over to the right and continuing that on, or the wall that's to the?
The wall on
up north?
the south side.
Oh, then yeah.
To
The intent
continue
is to
your
continue
existing
that.
wall, yeah, okay.
Yes.
It'll have the same look.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
intent, is to have the same look as that wall that's already at the existing Green Lantern parking lot.
And by material, I mean material,
Yep.
not look, yeah.
Yep, no, exactly, just to keep everything, continuous and, look the same.
That's so odd. Just with the walls, it's just awkward.
Yeah.
Was there any explanation why they wanted to keep the wall up, or?
Like I said, every conversation we've had with him, he's just doesn't want.
He's
us
not
to hear
interested.
Stuff. It doesn't, it's just that's his property, and he doesn't want anybody on it, or moved around, or driving through it, or, I said, I'd love to, I even offered to maintain his lot, you know, the back lot there, not do anything to get him to open it up, but he has zero interest in it. One day, hopefully, he sells it, and I can buy it, and we can make it one big parking lot, but that'd be the goal.
The only thing I don't love, and I don't know that there's any way to get around it, is that other house across the street on Elwood is gonna be right where, you can't, it's not on any of these, right?
Hear you.
It looks like the exit is going to be right at their house. And that's an out, so all those headlights are gonna be right in their house, but I don't know what the solution to that is.
So on a side note, on the other side, you know, coming out of Silas parking lot, or Green Lanterns now, but it's the same situation. You come out of the parking lot, the lights hit the house across the street. I think it's pretty standard for a lot of the parking lots in Berkeley. Fortunately, or unfortunately.
I mean, is there a way to, in the easement there, to provide something that would block it, plants, or at least to reduce some of the light?
You're talking about as they're pulling out back out into Elwood though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they don't have a tree there. At least whenever Google
Yeah.
photo guy went around and took these, there was no tree there.
I don't believe there's a tree there, if I remember correctly looking at it.
I just feel bad for them.
I see the LED lights. Are you doing any other improvements on the existing lot to match this? Cause I don't see lights on this plan sheet that I'm looking at.
I mean, there wasn't any plan to, I mean, that, you know, that, building, that was just created, you know, we built that place 4 years ago, so it's not that old.
Mhm.
But if that's something, you know, right now, we don't have a lot of lights in the back of the parking lot, it's off the building, and so like, the neighbor doesn't really get any hits on it. You know, we wanna add more lights, we potentially could.
And these are the lights for the parking lot right here.
Yes, yep, I see the three on the south side facing down,
Mm-hmm.
and then that one property just doesn't have any now, right? The existing
The
lot
adjacent,
adjacent to
yeah.
it, so I'm just thinking of uniformity for a look, but I'm not, I mean, that's the existing lot, so I'm just curious how
That's
it
a-
all
yeah,
look
great
the
observation,
same.
yeah.
I noticed on here that there's going to be a no turn, or, turn right only sign. Did we ask for that?
They included that.
Okay. Do we feel like that's necessary?
It's not a bad thing. I mean, people don't always follow those, right? But it is the suggestion that they should try to keep their traffic out of the neighborhood and go back to the main road. So I think we would encourage that.
I just hate that for the people who live in that neighborhood, right? I've noticed that, like, it was the same thing with Aquatots. I was like, but I'm right there. Why do I have to go to Coolidge and like,
Oh, where you have to go around the block.
And
Right.
Einstein, you can't turn left either to drive.
Yeah.
so I would
I
think
know.
that if
I'm
you,
not saying I didn't
if you
do it.
aren't living in the
I'm just saying I'm-
neighborhood, you're probably going to 12 Mile anyways, cause it's right there. Not a hill I'm gonna die on, but I'm also like, do we need to add that? I mean, is it just a?
Yeah, I think the whole purpose of it was to try to keep the traffic out of the neighborhood, right, and not, but you're right, if you live 3 doors to the left, that would suck.
Right, or even like 2 blocks, right? Now I'm like trying
Yeah.
to turn
But
right,
I think
to
it's a lot
turn
more
right,
common
to
that
turn right.
they don't live there than live there, right?
Yeah. I was thinking too of everyone that might be going through looking for spots, instead of, if they're all full, they're not gonna continue to go into the neighborhood and continue to look, they're gonna
Right.
circle back around.
Okay,
So it was more meant
Okay.
for people who can't find parking. They
Okay.
don't continue to crowd everyone down in the neighborhood. But
That
that's a
makes
great,
sense.
great
Yeah.
point though, if you're leaving.
So would you leave the existing parking to the north there, you would leave the spaces, as perpendicular?
To the north, so which is up
Yeah.
in this plan, to the north.
So the flow would go east and then down and then back out west?
So just directly north is the other person's property, so we're not touching any of that, but over to the right here, that area, the plan is to keep all those spaces the way they are, but rearrange the flow, that when you come down, you can either turn right or left, but once you turn right into the angled parking, it's one way, that would then lead you out to turn right on Elwood.
The other aisle's 2-way. They're all 2-way aisles
Yeah,
on the
and
other
on
2 aisles.
existing
They're-
parking, it's two-way travel, until you enter the angled parking area, the new parking.
I'm just curious, why didn't you do the parking on the flip side, adjacent to the wall and the other parking lot, versus facing the residents? Was there a logistical reason?
It's mainly because of the parking that's existing to the right, over to the
It
east.
lines up with it?
That, yeah, we needed some kind of pass through, right, so we continued that flow of the traffic and made one long strip of parking. If we were to make it to the north, there would, a little bit of a chicane there, a little bit of a zigzag to then come around and park. I think it'd be possible, but that was the main purpose, just keep it simple.
No, that makes sense. I'm just wondering, I know that the residents, is not here and he hasn't voiced concerns. I'm just worried that there might be a concern. And so, is there sound barrier walls that is gonna be required? There's nothing that we could do to assist on that?
No, not really. And there would be nothing required.
I know, I know
Yeah.
legally we're doing everything on the up and up. I'm just,
I mean, the only thing you could do, because you're thinking of the person across the street, right? This
I'm thinking
person.
the person next door.
Oh, next door?
That one.
Yeah, I mean, we're making sure that the lighting is not spilling onto his property, which was my main concern. Because that's what we mostly get complaints about. We don't usually get too many complaints about noise. It's mostly just lighting. So that seems to be in compliance, and we'll go out and check it once it's in place. But other than that, they're providing the required screen wall, and they really don't have space to do much more than that.
Oh, out of curiosity, you might not have this number. I know that, the parking was grandfathered, right, so it was lower than what we would have required. Do you know how close these 14 spaces would get them to what would
I do
happen?
not have
Okay.
that number.
I mean, because it's needed, we all know it's needed, but we'd love to see some landscaping. from what the Facebooks tell me, they'll be very happy that parking is not all on Elwood. Any additional thoughts, questions?
So tell me about the ordinance requirement about landscaping. We have to actually make a finding that
So
it's okay?
it's a finding that, I'm gonna tell you exactly what it says.
It's like, means the master plan.
Yeah.
Super
Yes.
vague.
It's very vague and not at all helpful. It is a determination that the proposed landscaping meets the requirements outlined in the master plan.
Yeah.
So, if you're looking to rely on something, the master plan, and we expanded on this in the zoning ordinance, the new zoning ordinance, talked about different types of buffers depending on how big the lot was. So if you'll remember, the smallest buffers were just the wall. So you have that there, but it also did talk about including some landscaping within parking lots, mainly in the form of parking lot islands and things. Now you have this little piece right here, the applicants offered to take this hatching and turn that into a small landscape island too. It's really up to you guys if you feel like that's sufficient.
I don't see any reason to do an island, in my opinion.
Me neither.
I would be
I
more,
agree.
I would be more in favor of some sort of landscaping to shield, and that would be the only, in my opinion, would be the only thing I would like to see, but if it can't be done, it can't be done.
Shield or buffer from the guy to the south?
And across the street.
Would that be possible? You'd have to move the spots back, I would think.
So, I mean, they could put a couple bushes in the right of way with no guarantee that, you know, if we have to rip them out, they come out
Because it's on our property.
because it's on our property. The other alternative would be if this person wanted a couple bushes in their front yard and they were amenable to that and you guys were amenable to that, perhaps that would provide some screening for them.
Across the street,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing for next door because there's a wall there,
'Cause there's a wall there, yes.
unless he wants a planting on his side of the wall.
I think that would be a little bit too far, because they're meeting the requirements, and even under the new ordinance, this is all that would be required for
Because
this
it's
size of
only
a
this,
property, because
yeah.
it is so narrow.
It's just such a weird plot.
That darn wall.
I agree, there's no point
In an
in
island.
an
Yeah.
island back there where no one's gonna see it, and
Yeah.
it's surrounded by pavement, it's kinda like,
It's probably just gonna die.
yeah.
after-
Eventually, it'll just be pebbles anyways, because it'll be too hard to do anything else.
Yeah.
And they're proposing a 6-foot high wall, screen wall, so, right, it is 6 foot high?
Which is pretty standard, I think, for all of our properties that abut the.
The one on the east says it's 4.6 feet, so that one's a little bit lower.
Which one's the east?
I think it
against-
starts low and then goes
Yeah,
up.
like gradual, I think.
Gotcha, steps up
Yeah.
for sight.
But you're right next to a sidewalk, right? So you can see around for
Right.
lights.
Yes.
It's lower.
It should be lower, yeah,
Yep.
around 4 feet, just for visibility.
I think the landscaping on Elwood is sufficient. The one square there, where it says planter bed and tree for landscape buffer per Berkeley master plan.
Yeah, I
And you-
don't feel like oh, I'm sorry.
And even that tree might be like in the way to see, but if it's a tree, it needs to be pretty low, I think, I would think.
Where were you reading? Where am I?
I'm on page 2, plan sheet A100.
Yeah.
Are you talking about right here?
It's right,
Yeah.
I hear you.
I thought she was reading.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
If you printed on it.
You should've just did this.
I mean, I don't see anywhere that we can really put a ton more landscaping
This-
as much as I would love to see it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like requiring a whole lot. I would just say that, like, as a good neighbor, I would reach out to the people that are across the street that are gonna have those headlights and just be like, can we get a tree planted here for you or something that can make this a little nicer for you? Only 'cause that would suck in your living room trying to watch TV and seeing the lights. So if we can somehow make them feel better, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
It's also only, people are gonna only park there when they're super busy, so just don't be super busy.
We'll try not to.
Does anybody have any additional questions, thoughts, motions?
I just, about the light, I know they're like cut off so they don't shine past the property line. But if you're sitting in the kitchen or not, are they shielded such that you wouldn't see the light? Like if you're sitting and it's right there?
Yeah, we require it to be shielded.
Okay,
Yeah, it would have a hood and shield on it.
gotcha.
All right, well then, I will make a motion to approve PSP 03-25 at 3340 Elwood Avenue, because I find that the planning commission, that the plan meets the standards for site plan approval per section 138-679, and that the landscaping as proposed meets the requirements of section 130-37.
Support.
Kristen, will you call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Bartis?
Yes.
Commissioner Dolan?
Yes,
Commissioner Stapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamame?
Yes.
Commissioner Arnsman?
Yes.
Commissioner Woods?
Yes.
And Chair Kempner.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations, you get your parking lot.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Take
it.
care, guys.
And number 3, PSP 0425 3391 12 Mile Road.
So this particular application is also under the old zoning ordinance. It's a facade update. So the applicant is proposing to alter more than 50% of some of the facade, so it's here before you for planning commission approval of the site plan. It generally meets the standards of the ordinance, with one exception. There's the requirement that the first floor of a building that fronts a street be composed of a minimum of 40% or a maximum of 80% windows or any transparent materials. About 28% of the 12-mile facade is transparent. The applicant is working with an existing building, has improved the transparency somewhat, and is definitely improving the overall look of the building. So staff would recommend that the planning commission waive that standard and allow the reduced transparency. The commission would also need to find the standards for site plan approval listed in section 138-678 have been met. And then lastly, it does bring this into compliance, into greater compliance with the downtown design guidelines. So all positives there.
Thank you. I'm assuming you are our applicant.
I am the applicant, Darren Atesian, on behalf of CNH Land.
Is there anything you would like to add?
Just that the building itself, the way it's set up, really limited the ability to meet that 40%. There are 2 different interior roof lines. There's a 2-story portion to the west that limited the free span clearance to 9 feet. So rather than going up and down, we wanted continuity, so we made all the windows at the 9-foot height. And the building does have a parapet wall, which raises up the masonry even a little bit more. But we felt like 9-foot windows was pretty substantial. But when you do the math, that is the reason why it is skewed, though, because of that 2-story.
Does anybody have any questions, comments?
What's the use of this building again?
It's going to be for our own real estate office. We have a commercial real estate company, Atesian Properties, and we're going to be moving into a little over half of the building. There's 2 separate addresses under this one physical property. The other portion to the east, we'll put up for lease and hopefully get a retail tenant in there. And so because we are a real estate company, we have a small component of retail as well.
So we're adding windows. Are we leaving the brick that's there?
We're gonna leave the brick that's there, we're gonna match it, and then we'll paint it for continuity. It has kind of a dated roof parapet thing that'll be pulled off, and we really think that's gonna change that whole look to it and bring it up to, you know, today's type building standard.
It is kind of a dark, dreary feeling building.
It is, and it's got that overhang that just,
The mansard roof.
it
the
makes
whole-
it feel
yeah.
very short for some reason,
Yeah.
so.
It's a popular roof line in Berkeley. So the salon next door, that's separate from you guys,
That's correct, yes. If you see where the darker shingled brown roof changes to the white, that would be the vacancy that we'll be approaching next.
Okay.
I heard your breath. Did you have a question?
I know, I was just gonna say, it's hard with existing buildings to meet some of these requirements, so
For
without
sure.
flexibility, it would be impossible.
Yeah.
I like that it's bringing it more in line with current
Mhm.
standards, and I guess that's what we need to strive for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to match up on that picture to what I'm looking at the drawing. So you're,
That's the 12-mile side.
You need this one,
Yeah.
okay,
north mile.
so you're adding windows in between there.
Correct.
Between the existing.
Yep. So really, the whole front should look pretty much glass with some masonry columns in between the large windows.
Mhm.
And you said you're painting the brick?
We are painting the brick.
What color will the brick be?
It will be a lighter earth tone, like, you know, lighter beige or lighter gray. I don't know if we've gotten that far with it yet. But I'd be happy to come back in for administrative approval or something of that nature when we're ready to pick out the color if that's needed.
We don't usually do that, but
Yeah.
happy to see it.
Is there any lighting being attached? Or
Uh,
that's out there now?
There is not.
No? Okay.
It's a challenging outside, so we have not crossed that bridge yet. But overall, we need to figure out the outside. You know, there's a lot of pavement there and an odd tree, so we want to get past this phase. We also have an interior build-out we're submitting for, and then we're gonna come back in with some ideas for the exterior on that area that's paved right now. I believe it was formerly a auto repair, so they had the need for parking cars up front. I don't believe we're even allowed to do that anymore, so that's something that we've got to figure out how to tie all that in.
Looks like a great place for a little public mini plaza.
I was thinking that. Boy, that'd be a nice little place for a couple of tables and a chair.
It really
right?
would. We're hoping that's what the neighboring tenant will be, and we can put some cool roll-up garage doors and get tables out there. I mean, it's a really unique piece that it has all that property in the front of it, right on 12 Mile.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is there any signage proposed at some point?
No signage
No.
approval, but we'll go back in for signage approval. The building has sat for so long, and it felt so far off. We're like, well,
Right.
just, you know, there's a lot to take in on this, so
Baby steps.
baby steps is right, yeah. From my understanding, I think it's been vacant since the early 2000s.
That feels about right.
Yeah.
Well then, without further ado,
Mhm.
Does anybody have any more questions? Lisa, take it away.
I will make a motion to approve PSP 04-25 for 3391 12 Mile Road because, the proposed changes bring the facade more in line with the approved downtown design guidelines. And I will also add to my motion that the standard regarding transparency in section 138-675, I'm sorry, the standard regarding transparency, which section I do not, 138-421,
That sounds right.
be waived in light of the fact that it is an existing building and it is bringing it more in line with the required percentage.
And that it meets the standards
Site
for site plan
Site plan
approval.
approval. That's what I was citing, section
Yeah.
138-678.
Support.
Kristen, can you call roll?
Yes, Commissioner Dolan,
Yes.
Commissioner Stapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamame,
Yes.
Commissioner Ernstman,
Yes.
Commissioner Woods,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartis,
Yes.
Chair Kempner.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Can't wait
Thank-
to see it.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, really
Yep.
appreciate it. And we're looking forward to being a part of the Berkeley community.
Thank you. And Planning Commission Liaison for Chamber of Commerce.
So this has been on the agenda for a while now, since everyone's here. We can talk through it. The chamber meets the third Tuesday of every month at 6 o'clock at the library right now, but those locations might change if they decide to have like a traveling meeting or something. But I could put whoever wanted to do this in touch with Darlene Rothman over at the chamber, and she would let you know. Is there anyone interested in being the liaison to the Chamber of Commerce?
Tuesdays at 6?
Yeah, I can. If I'm available.
And willing?
Cool. Okay.
Thank you.
That was easy.
Da-da-da-da. All right. Liaison reports. Anybody got a report?
I don't.
Okay.
Zoning Board of Appeal canceled their this month's meeting as well, so.
Okay. DDA is trudging along with its, the temporary DDA director. Seems like they're close to figuring out who the new DDA director will be, but that won't be till summer. They're being very mum about who that might be. They're looking at their budget right now. And on May 3rd, it is Leia's day out. It's the day before May the 4th be with you, but it's also free comic book day. And there'll be a trolley and stores, so hopefully it's a beautiful day and everybody gets out. That's all I got. City Council?
Yeah, we met last night. We have our work session for our budget on Monday and Tuesday. Last night was a pretty low-key meeting. We had a closed session and,
RFP approval for the city attorney,
that's correct.
a
That was
very nice proclamation for Jeff Tong.
for our historical committee, chair. and
Is he
museum
not gonna be
curator.
chair anymore?
No, he is. We
Okay.
just, it was a proclamation for him. And then budget work session is Monday and Tuesday next week at 6 PM.
I will
Public
expect to see
safety.
a huge crowd there to
I
like
hope so. I
get
hope
into
so.
the weeds there.
The only thing I have to share is that we had a meeting, the city clerk's office and city manager's office is working on an updated orientation and, just overall process for boards and commissions in terms of reappointments and things like that, so stay tuned. Lisa got her wish that we will no longer be doing excused absences once that is in place. So that'll be in there, but it's not out there officially. We may need to take a look at our bylaws once it's adopted by council, because we may need to make a few changes to the bylaws for the planning commission. But overall, I think it's good.
I do have one more thing to add. There is a group of people meeting about the Dorothea Pocket Park. So I didn't make the first meeting, but I made this last meeting. It's kind of talking about, it looks like, the second week of June will be when we'll close that little area of Dorothea between Coolidge and that alley by the school, or by the school field. We'll close it for a month and really try and activate it during that time, and then kind of get feedback from the businesses and from the community as to how it affected them, what they liked, what they didn't like, etc. So now we're just trying to work on like what does that activation look like? Is it more scripted, like these are the days that everything will be happening? Do we kind of like let certain times lead where people just kind of come and form, and so we're working through that stuff. Now that's all I have. In which case, if no one else has anything to talk about, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I made two, stop looking at me.
You want to go for the trifecta? No one say anything.
No pressure.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is adjourned, or meeting is adjourned at 7:44.